Yeah, I don't think it worked the first time for some, even though it said recording, it's not doing what it normally does, and I see it now. So we should be good now. So, okay. All right. So thanks for bearing with me last week also and letting me have the break that I needed for my energy to get restored. It did restore little by little each day, which was really great. I did work with ChatGPT on it, by the way, which you might want to try, Amy. Also plugging in your things because it was telling me things that I wasn't aware of. For example, when you have no food in your belly, you literally expunged everything. The next morning, I had run out of water and I went downstairs to get water. I'm not kidding you, I barely made it back up the stairs. Okay. I had to pull from some reserve somewhere, some divine source, like, God, just get me in the, like, like, just get me back to the bed. Not just to the top of the stairs even, right? Like, I literally collapsed into the bed. And that's when I learned, later, after sleeping for a while, and, trying to rehydrate myself, I started plugging some things into ChatGPT and it was telling me, um, how my glycogen in my muscles was completely, almost anyway, completely depleted. There was no, something fuzzy. There was nothing left, right? And so it helped me map a process of restoring my glycogen. And I did what I told you, which is I got the protein pills. Like it didn't tell me about that. I knew that from my chiropractor. But you know what I mean? Like, what can you take your symptoms to? And I mean, I talk to it about my emotional stuff too. We have a friend, Nuri and I have a friend who is doing this a lot as well. And I felt inspired to like start telling it some more stuff, and it's tracking with things I know from the health perspective and adding to it, and it's tracking with things I'm learning with Tiffany, just giving a little maybe different perspective sometimes or a little extra or so I'm feeling comfortable that you know could it miss something sometimes like AI experts definitely say don't it's not perfect. Right. But I think it has a great opportunity, like from my own experience now, to support as well. So anyway, so I'll offer that to you as a starter. And then, so it's been 2 weeks and I left you with homework last time. Does anyone remember what the homework is? Okay. Nuria. Thank you for your honesty, everyone. Okay. So you get another chance to try. What was the homework, Amy?
Lunges.
Yeah. And in what way?
The the one where you get your tummy up and put your tummy rib cage over your leg, that to do
Yeah.
that at least twice.
Yep. And a little more specific. It's coming back to you now, isn't it? All right. Oh,
Not
yeah.
me. That's all I remember.
Okay. Cool. That was one of the ways we could have done it. But I suggested that you could try it first thing in the morning and see what that's like. So compared to how we generally do it at some point in the middle or towards the end of the day, depending on time zones, right? So take that and then next week report. And so put it in your calendar so you don't forget. Because I mean, there's a lot going on right now in our lives, in the world. There's so much information, right? If we don't write it down and put it in a calendar somewhere, it probably it's very easy. Me too. In fact, I missed an appointment this morning. I don't usually take calls before 12. I usually do them in the afternoon or evening. I didn't set a timer. I missed the call because it was with somebody in Europe. So that's why I had to do it earlier. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. So, and I told her this time, I said, I'm going to, if you trust me with another appointment, I'm going to actually set a ringer for myself to trigger myself to remember because I'm not usually a morning call person. So, anyway, so please add that or write it down now so that you can, you know, catch it at the end of class if you like. So the point is to do at least one, I think it was do one lunge per day, in the day. And then try one of those lunges at some point in the morning. And then I think where it got to be two is what if you tried also the lunge to be in the evening before you went to bed? And then take your shift sheet with you to the bedroom. Okay, so you're doing it, right? When you first wake up and you don't forget, or at some point when you wake up, right? And then also when you do it before you go to bed in the morning, you might notice how you slept and you can do a little comparison contrast. And look, doing it once may not be enough of an experiment for you to notice anything, right? It just, as I keep saying to you guys, our consciousness is shifting in real time and we're going into different places we're not used to, and the brain carries patterns. So we're working with the shift sheet to start to let it recognize patterns. Okay. And if we have a new pattern and our consciousness hasn't risen yet to the awareness of what's going on, we may not notice it yet, but we can track over time. Okay. All right. So let's see. So I wanted to talk to you about substitution poses before, we get going, because we were, talking, you were listening this conversation here, Amy. Sometimes not every pose is for us. Okay. In any particular moment. So we're getting ready to do cat cow. And if you feel a little more energized, maybe give it a try, right, Amy? But if you're not, some days you've got to be able to, like, how the body's going to learn to trust us more and reveal more information also is to practice tracking the information. Okay. But also, if we're not up for anything, a particular thing on any particular day, we get to take care of ourselves, right? We started this whole process with there are going to be times when I might try to nudge you forward, right? You're like, oh, this hurts, and I'll coach you on how to soften it or change an angle or come out of an angle, like soften the angle, right? So you're not so deeply into it. So there's times when our mind is just wanting us to stay in comfort, in other words, okay? And then there's times where we cross that line and it's like, no, contraindicated. Should not be doing any more of this, should not be going any deeper into it. Maybe the reason is like what you were saying today, Amy, is that you're not, you weren't feeling as good, right? Like I did this last week. I had no energy on Tuesday. I was trying to see if I could catch up, but because I was resting most of the day, but I could absolutely tell a couple hours before, I didn't even have to wait till the end. I was just like, it's not going to happen. Because I wouldn't show up being able to give you everything, right? So where are you on the journey? And because it's not just it's a journey that trends like this, better, 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 right? But just like the stock market, right? It goes dips, comes up, dips, comes up. But the general, trajectory of the stock market it's gone up over time. I just was listening to someone, 10% of, I forget how many decades now. It's tracked for 10% change per year over time, which just so happens to be the amount of change that our brain can handle at any one time without going into a relapse or a freak out response for your brain, right? It's like too much, it collapsed back down to keep you safe, right? So we do these little changes. It's why we don't hold a pose for 10 minutes, especially in the beginning. I can do it sometimes now, right? I will sometimes luxuriate in longer periods of time, but I have a big base and foundation, right? So we're doing little bit, little bit, little bit. Oh, it's growing. Our capacity to hold these changes is growing and growing as we release the layers. It's like we're letting the luggage go. So over time, we have this interest, right? Like the stock market, we've created all of this equity in our body to stay open. So I did a post yesterday and I have my leg, I'm sitting in a chair in a airplane, a little airplane, and my girlfriend's catty corner to me, and she put her foot up, and I put my foot up to meet hers, and our feet like met like this, but my leg is way up in the air. And I'm not over here like this trying to do it. Look, that's still straight, right? I am up and my leg is up and our feet are meeting. There's not probably a lot of 55-year-olds who are doing that. Okay. It just, we let ourselves get so much tension, so many layers and layers and layers of this tension baggage. All right. So you're on the right path, but I do want you to recognize that sometimes you may need a substitute pose. Early on, or a substitute within the pose. Early on, when Honey was here, remember I said to her, she couldn't hold her knee in alternate leg pose. And she couldn't hold behind the knee either, but she could hold the sides of her pant leg. So that's a great example of an adaptation within a pose. And then sometimes if we don't have the energy for something, we do something different on that day, something more restorative. Okay. Or we skip a pose sometimes because it's just not for us in that moment. And sometimes we will substitute a pose. So substitutions can come in a lot when I do one-on-ones with people. You know it. So there's been many reasons over the years why someone couldn't do a lunge sometimes. Even myself, I think I had some wrist issues one time, or so something was going on, and I couldn't lean into my bones in that way. Okay, so I did Danu leg. Danu's the one where we lay on our belly and we put our foot over the roll. Substitute pose. So I can give you substitutions sometimes until you're over a hump, and then you can come back to these poses. Okay, and that can happen inside the membership too. And then you learn it. You have to practice it and learn it. And when I say we're going to do a lunge, that you're actually going to go down and do the Danu leg, for example. Okay. So almost all the time there's a workaround, and sometimes there isn't. And that's when you say, just skip the pose. Okay. The last thing, and this is for you, Noria, um, sorry, stuff falling over here. The Google Sheet. Did you find it since I left you the message? No. Did you look for it?
I didn't have time to look for it. I had a number of issues going on in the apartment, and I just did not have the time to look for it.
It's okay. When you have a chance, look for it. If for some reason you don't find it, just let me know. Okay. But we have one email stream that is everything that I did that on purpose, so we didn't have stuff all over the place, right? Everything in that one stream. Okay. So it's probably towards the top because I pivoted to that pretty early on. It probably within a week, 2. Or between 2 and 3, something like that. That's where you got it's at the very top. It's like the Zoom links, and then it's keep going. It's the same one. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is it in a separate, what is it called? Is it in a separate attachment, or
it's in your emails? I mean, I can't remember. It's 6 8 weeks back or whatever, but it's in there. Just look for something that says, here's the Google Sheet, and you'll see it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And otherwise, let's get started. So let's read what we're going to do today. So today's going to be And this is why I said you might want to do a substitute pose. Okay. So Amy, a great substitute pose for you today, for example, would be reclining child or the twist. I like the idea of doing the JP twist for you because it's good for the rib cage. If you're feeling particularly maybe a little emotional, maybe wanting some more grounding, you could do the child pose we've been working on the last couple weeks. Okay. I'm gonna say this is where, there's a point where I've given you 3 options and just kind of think about how you feel in these poses or tap into the intuitive sense of it and start playing with that. And I know you're really, both of you are really, really tapped in to intuitive sense of your bodies. Okay, so there's some people I might not say that to, but you guys got it. Okay, I know you do, and it's only expanding more and more and more you practice with it. Okay, so take one of those and try that if you're like, this feels like too much for me right now, just really achy. Yeah, I mean, I imagine I know how the achiness is a different kind of achiness. It's not like a joint and nerve, achiness, right? But you can watch what I'm doing, observe, okay? And I just want to read a little bit about cat cow. So you can raise your hand if you've done cat cow before. Yeah, no, that's no. That's no. Okay. All right. Cat-cow is very, yeah, and I got you, Nori. Cat-cow is very popular. It's secularly popular. A lot of chiropractors, they're like, cat-cow, they sing the praises of cat-cow. And there are a lot of good benefits, okay? Well, it looks like I raised my hand and it picked it up. All right. So now remember, everything that we're doing, why it's so different is because we're thinking about spine first. We're leading with the spine. So the way we're going to do this today, of course, is going to be different than you've probably done it before. There's going to be a lot more details. And just like maybe lunge, it's going to take 2 or 3 times for it to kind of be like, okay, all right, not so big a deal. The first time it's like, whoa, maybe. But we'll step through it and we'll keep stepping through it. But here's why we want to do it, okay? I want to read to you a couple of things on my notes. 1 is the point and 2 is the benefits, all right? So the point, it's a slow spinal massage, all right? 1 you don't have to go out to get. You can give it to yourself, okay? Now, it's not a good pose for getting into the tight areas, okay? Excuse me, into the tight areas, moving. That doesn't make any sense. Not a good pose for getting, oh, sorry, that's why I read it wrong. Not a good pose for getting the tight areas moving. What are the areas that move well? Let's start with that, right? From the tailbone up through the neck. Our neck moves, I mean, people could be tight, but it moves pretty easy, right? Because we're on this pivot, it's on a pivot joint. So because it tends to move easier, we use it a lot. It gets overused. So this is why people usually come and they say, oh, I have neck issues, right? Neck and shoulder usually together. All right. So we overuse that area. The other area is our lumbar, right? Because it's pretty free. The rib cage part of the spine has all the ribs come into the spine. Right? And when it comes into all these attachments, there's a lot of connective tissue right here. So this and connective tissue is denser tissue. So that tissue that connective tissue means that things get harder to move there. And you might feel that when we do the twist, right? In fact, take what I'm teaching you right now and pay attention when you do the twist. I will call it dumping out. We might dump out at the waist, meaning the whole, I can demonstrate that better. That thing doesn't move as well. I think we did this recently even. I can move very easily at my waist, but look, do you see how that, remember last week we got really tight and we tried to move, right? Same thing here. This is tighter, as we just discussed, the spine through the rib cage area. But right here, there's no extra connective tissue, so this moves. And look, this did not really move. I let my waist do most of the turning. But look, if I really use the rest of my spine, I'm using my hands to create this now, my hands and arms, I can get it to move. All right, so when we do cat-cow, it tends to be a similar thing. We tend to move, we almost do like a flop, like a fish flopping on the ground, right? We move from kind of assuming this is the waist, okay? We let the waist come down, we let the waist come up, we shake it all about, right? Right? And we tend to move there the most, but we have all these vertebrae that get to move. And we're here for the parts that are stuck. Okay, that's the parts that need the work. All right, so we tend to move the parts of the spine that are already moving easily, and we skip the parts that are jammed, and that's part of the point of cat-cow. Now, yeah, we need to get the tight areas moving. Okay, so the contraindications, let's do that actually next. For students who have problems with low back pain, this pose may make the low back ache. Okay. Poses for the tailbone and sacrum are more beneficial. All right. So what are we doing here? I'm starting to move us into something that's a little more complicated, just requiring a little more thinking, a little more processing. Is this for me right now? If this is not for you because of the contraindications I'm going to continue with, do the twist, do reclining child to child. Okay. All right. So it's also contraindications and dangers, it says. So sometimes that means completely stop. And sometimes, dangers means like pay attention. Is this for you? Is this appropriate? Okay. So digestion and constipation. So it may irritate the internal organs rather than relieving them. Poses for the tailbone and sacrum are more beneficial. Why does it keep saying that? Because we know now, we have the experience of if we release the low spine, the tailbone and sacrum, it creates changes all the way up. So if we keep doing more lower spinal release, it'll set the stage for us to be able to be successful in this pose. Okay? And then the last contraindication / danger is neck and shoulders. It will not provide significant improvement. It usually does not hurt, but it does not provide significant benefit. This pose is more, in other words, it's saying it's more about the massage of the whole spine. While your neck and head may flip-flop also, kind of like that fish, right, out of water, it's easy to get these joints to move. We're just pivoting it back to let's get into the parts that aren't moving. So if you do choose to do this pose with me today, or if you choose to do it later, pay attention as you use it. It's a great marker pose for this reason, right? What's it going to feel like the first time? We are going to release the tailbone, sacrum, waist, and rib cage. And then what's it going to feel like on the other side? Okay. So let's wrap it up with some benefits. Massages and warms up the spine, moves your hips and low back. It stimulates activity of internal organs. So, if you're not having some digestion and constipation issues, maybe some things are really sluggish. For example, if you know this and you're on a detox, for example, and you want to get things moving, right? Maybe this is a pose that you're going to choose. okay? Because it does stimulate the activity of these internal organs. Here we go. It's often recommended by chiropractors, so that's why more people are aware of it than maybe some of these other poses, because they do perpetuate this pose coming out quite a bit. And it helps students discover and move the individual vertebrae. Bingo. Pay attention to that today as we use this as a marker pose. Okay, now, you know how I've been saying to you, we use arms, abs, and legs to do work. That sound familiar? Yeah? Okay. I'm throwing you in the deep end today. We're going to use all three. For that reason, let's see over time, and then it could be a year or two later. I have had this happen where I start someone with a pose that they just cannot do. And then, bless you. And then 2 years later, maybe we circle back to that, we've gone through all kinds of things. You've had tons of lower spinal release work because I told you we really, there's repetitiveness inside of our practice because we're always going to do tailbone, sacrum, waist, rib cage. We're always going to get that foundation going and bring it up the spine. So maybe it's, maybe you don't take this on in your personal practice as much. And then 2 years later, or a year and a half later, or 3 years, whatever it is, we circle back to this part and you're like, I remember how challenging that was 2 years ago. Wow, look at what I'm doing now. Okay, so there's this long-term journey. And that's why when you hear me say, like, Nuria, you hear me and you both of you probably heard me say this when I talked to you about signing up for this program. I'm looking for people who want the long-term effects of this practice. Because what do we say? A little bit over time adds up, just like your investment account, right? There's the whole compound interest, right? So that in the end, right, we got that 10% adding up over time, and then you're 55 years old and you've got your leg up here in the air with your girlfriend on the plane, right? So it's not always that we notice a big, huge change in the beginning, but it adds up over time, and that's when you realize, wow, okay, we've been doing something and I've been tracking it and I knew that, but here's like a big aha about it. Okay. All right. So let me demonstrate this pose and then I'm going to walk you through it. Okay. Right. It's a bit like lunge in how we set up. We're going to be on all fours. Okay, and if you notice, my knees are under my hips and my wrists are under my shoulders, and it's even this way. Okay, sometimes, sometimes we will line up tight, right? You notice though, my hips, especially as women, our hips are wider than our legs can come together. So definitely make sure you have a little space between your knees, okay? So that you're squared off, because the ultimate, here we go this way. This is a little light on down below so you can see feet and stuff. Okay, so I am going to tuck my toes under because that's how I'm going to get use of my legs. Okay, ultimately I'm going to be pressing into my toes. Look, if I press in my toes, see, it moves me, right? If I press into my arms, it moves me. If I use my abs, did you see? Even my back and we've been playing with that recently, right? Last week on the Q&A, I think it was. We got to feel how when you can use your abs to move you. Okay, so we're going to start with the head down. And I'm going to start pressing into my hands, knees, and toes and let my torso come up. And I will pull my abs. So I'm going to exhale, pull my abs in. Do you see how that's getting my torso to arc up? I'm engaging my toes, my hands, and my abs. Now, I'm going to breathe into the back of my lungs. And then I'm going to pull my abs in again and see if I can eke out a little bit more arcing. Okay. And then when I come out, I'm going to leave my head down, but I'm going to let my tailbone start to tip up, which brings my hips down. I'm still pressing into my hands, knees, and toes because I'm supporting myself. But I let my torso come down, my low waist comes down. I'm climbing the spine. It comes up into my low ribs in between my shoulder blades and all the way up to my shoulders. And then I'm going to let my, it goes more, smoothly to my neck and head once I get up to that part of my spine. I will breathe into this is cow. Okay, cat. That last part was cat. This is cow. I'm breathing into my belly. And I'm literally letting my belly sag like an old sag. And I want you to think about this like an old saggy cow belly. How much can you let it go? And then we'll start reversing. Now, I don't just flop my head down. I'm just going to let my tailbone tip out behind me, right? Because this becomes that fish, that floppy fish, right? And I'm looking for articulation. So I'm going to start pressing, letting my tailbone tip down and climbing up my spine. And then when I get to my neck and head, I'll let it come down. I'm still pressing into my hands, knees, and toes, right? And then I'm going to pull my belly in and let that arc my ribs up. I'll breathe into my back lungs. And then I'm going to pull my belly in one more time and see if I can eke a little bit more out. Okay. Could you see? It's probably subtle, but could you see the shifts and changes as I was doing the pieces? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I don't know if I lost you, Nuria, or if you just went off screen. So, all right. Do you want to try this today, Amy? Or okay, cool beans. Let's do it then. Let's do it. And this is a great one. If you could get yourself on, yeah, I'll get your question. If you can get yourself on camera, I can coach you to help you get through it. Okay, not get through it, but move through it. Okay, what's your question, Nuria? So look where you're going to be on the floor. Like right now, I can see, oh, I had tipped it up so you can see my head, but I'm looking, okay, that's where I'm going to be on the floor, right? And just tilt your screen. Go ahead, Nuria, if you still have a question.
I don't have a question.
Oh, I thought you went like this with your hand.
Well, then I'm here. I've been here all the time. It's just that I was off camera for a while.
Sure, no worries. I'm going to change that setting so I don't get confused. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. I mean, if my name is on it, I'm here.
Well, what's happening is like your whole thing goes away. It's on a setting where if you take yourself off screen, it looks like you're gone to me. So I'm going to change the setting so I don't get confused. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Wish me luck finding setting. Being the tech man, I know I'm ahead of some people. I'm behind some people. I get there eventually. We're getting there, you know.
All right. No problem. Okay.
Okay.
I'll do my guess with the screen, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do your best, right? So I can do. All right. So I'm gonna watch. Okay. So I can help. All right. So so you won't be seeing me. You can look at Amy if you need someone to look at. Okay. Because this is the most complicated so far, right? It's like the most complicated from the perspective of steps a little bit. Like it's right up there with lunge with steps, but with finding the parts of your body, like accessing your your body in the way we're gonna get ready to try. So for me, what I'm seeing from you, Amy, is you are not squared off. Your knees are behind your hips, your hands are in front of your shoulders. You should feel when you're squared off, you should feel like your like your arms and legs are like tent poles, right? And your torso could hang and drape like your big saggy cow belly stuff, right? Like it should just your whole torso should just hang in between the 4 points. Yeah. And that feels different, doesn't it? Yeah, you were in a somewhat like a mild plank. Okay, before and you could feel your spine and your abs were kicking in. And so if your torso is working, it's not going to undulate like we want it to. Okay, hold on, Amy, I'm waiting for Nuria. That looks good, Nuria. Thank you. Got a good view. One of my best views of you yet. Move your body back some, please. I see more your feet and your legs. I want to see your arms and torso, everything. Okay, that's good. Thank you. While you're waiting, Amy, just let your neck and head hang down. Let your neck and head hang down. Let everything start softening. Looks good. Okay, so tuck your toes under and feel this boxy shape. Like, you've got two sides of a door jamb, right? Your arms and your legs, and then your legs to your arms. So everything's, your arms are parallel, your legs are parallel. And you're going to start rounding your back toward the ceiling, pulling your navel in half strength to help the rounding out. The back of your hips will round back, so your tailbone's lengthening toward the floor, and you're dropping your head forward, and you can even tuck your chin in toward your chest. You're pressing through your toes, your knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly, keeping your elbows straight. Yeah, so you're starting to push back a little bit there, Noria. Yeah, I like your self-correction. That was good. So as you're at the top, exhale and pull your navel in half strength to help the back of your waist round toward the ceiling a little more. And then as you inhale, send the breath into your back ribs, filling them toward the ceiling like hot air balloons. And then exhaling and pulling the navel in half strength again. You could repeat this another 2 or 3 times if you like, inhaling, excuse me, into the back ribs and exhaling and pulling your navel in at half strength. And then begin to move to cow. So leave your head down, okay? We're not there yet. That's what people want to do the most. Just tip your tailbone out behind you, parallel to the floor. And then it'll tip up toward the ceiling. Your hips will tilt the other way so that your sit bones are moving up toward the ceiling. And you get a slow, deep arc that climbs your spine from your low back through your waist, along the spines of your rib, behind your heart, shoulder blades, and into the base of your neck. And when the arc climbs your neck, as you'll raise your head and bring your head back so your ears are back toward your shoulders. Your head comes up and you're looking straight ahead, not at the floor, okay? And continue in this place. Straighten your elbows there, Noria. Straighten your elbows. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so continue pressing into the floor evenly through your toes, knees, and hands, even here in cow. Keeping your elbows straight and letting your belly soften, your belly and chest open toward the floor. As you inhale, expand the breath into the belly and chest this time. And as you exhale, let the spine soften and sag like an old cow. Just even imagining that old cow. And you can repeat this 2 or 3 times. So inhale, expanding the breath into the belly and chest, and exhale, let your spine soften and sag. And so let's do another round. You're going to start pressing into your toe or continue pressing into your toes, knees, and hands. So you leave your head up. Just start to leave your head up, Noria. Just start to tip the torso, the tailbone down toward the floor, and that starts to tip the pelvis. So it's coming up, and then the low spine starts to arc up. Don't do your head quite yet till you get all the way up there. We're going to climb the spine, go through the waist, get that rib cage, middle of your rib cage. And then as it starts to come around your shoulders, now things start tipping down and your neck and head start to come down. You're pressing into your toes, knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly and keeping your elbows straight. As you come up, the exhale, you will exhale and pull the navel in at half strength. And that'll help you round the back of your waist out toward the ceiling even a little more, right? More than you realized you could without your abs helping you. Okay, and then you'll inhale into the back of your ribs, and that'll help lift them toward the ceiling. And from here, exhale and pull your navel in at half strength. You can repeat that 2 or 3 times, just breathing into the back of your body. And then exhaling, pulling your abs in half strength. Your head's down. When you're up in cat, your head's down. Okay. And then leave your head down as you start to tip your tailbone up towards the ceiling again. So your pelvis starts to tip and tip down, and then your waist starts to sink down, and it climbs up through your low ribs and behind your heart. And between your shoulder blades. Oh, and there's like a gully there between your shoulder blades, maybe not. And then, of course, your neck and head come up, and you're pressing in to the floor evenly still with your hands, knees, and toes. Your elbows are straight. And let that belly sag and soften as your belly and chest open toward the floor. You're letting gravity take hold and just let that belly sag down like an old cow belly. And you breathe into that belly, expanding your breath into the belly and chest, the front side of your body this time. And as you exhale, let the spine soften and sag. So we're going to end in cat. So this will be the last one. Press into your toe, leave your head up, press into your toes, knees and hands, and you'll start to tip your tailbone down toward the floor and bring your torso back up into cat one more time. And then sit back on your heels. So we did child pose, right? Bring your knees together. So if there's any space between your knees now, bring the knees together, sit back on your heels. Give yourself a support below your buttocks if you need to, but otherwise you can stack your fist and let your forehead come into your fist. If you need something under your elbows, you can do that. Maybe today, is a little not like last week, maybe if you're experiencing a little extra unrest. Yeah, you can untuck your toes to come into child. And it does feel nice sometimes, like what you just did, Nora, tapping your toes on the floor. It can feel nice after they were tucked under for a while. Okay. And come up, and you can let me know how that was for you. And if there's any questions, I'm going to mute because I'm going to sneeze here. Okay, or not. It went away. Maybe
I
you can.
It it felt really good. I didn't really know that I could go that far and that low, and it felt great. It's just what started hurting the most was my wrists.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're someone who might do well to get if you don't have one already, maybe you can go to the store and get a knee pad because every once in a while a knee pad does come in handy enough where it's worth it. Okay. And what you can do is instead of being flat on the floor, you're going to bring the base of the palm of your hand to the edge. And
Okay.
that's gonna open up the angle a little bit here, as opposed to being, see how like much more intense that angle is when I'm on the floor?
Yes.
And just a little bit of opening will help that carpal tunnel area, give it a little more space and it won't be so uncomfortable.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, isn't it cool? This is the principle. Support creates release, making you be able to do so much more with your spine. The support was through using your arms and legs and your toes up all the way through your legs, right? And then, of course, in the end, it was with you using the abs, right, to create the change. Boy, that's a big difference, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Nuria.
I also had the problem that Amy talked about. The wrists were hurting, and I had put actually a towel under my my knees, and then I thought, because my knees were kind of hurting the first time we got down on all fours. But I didn't think of putting a towel. So actually, I might use the towel before I get any of these knee pads that you have.
Yeah, try.
The other, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, there's a delay.
Yeah,
Try. I'll
well,
just say try it.
yeah, I will. I will. Then I really felt that my weight was more on my arms, maybe because the wrists were hurting, than on my legs. I mean, you know, I felt my knees, but then my toes. I didn't feel that there was much weight on my toes, and I didn't know how to change that. You know. Also, maybe maybe that's the way it is. I don't know. You know.
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of weight on the toes. It's more that you're pressing the toes in. They're tucked under, so you can use them to press in.
Okay.
And then you'll feel the pressure of them. And if your toes, if your legs from your toes up, right? Right? If those
Mhm.
extremities, right, are more active, it'll probably take some of the brunt of the arm. So focus on that next time and let's see what changes. Okay.
Okay.
Because, and if you need to, like you saw in the beginning when I was demonstrating, you saw me, oops, a little too far down. You saw me initiate. Look, I did all that movement through my toes. I'm
I
not,
can't see your toes here, but it doesn't matter.
can you see now? I'm
No,
moving them.
no, I see your ankles. That's as far as I see. But anyway, I imagine them.
Okay, well, maybe because it's a phone screen. If you watch the replay, it's going to be on the recording. My toes can, maybe if I come forward, can you see now?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, watch what happens to my body when I press through my toes. See how it pushed me forward?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're not really, so that's because I'm using them. So when I am, I have to back up a little now for you to see this, but so if you're not using them enough, then it might, you can, I'm thinking, it may not be the case, but let's try it. Sometimes things work for sure, and sometimes we have to test them to see. But try that. Try using your toes and legs a little more. And if not, then yeah, maybe get something to approximate the knee pad situation. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's
Also, I had remembering the sequence, following you. I had a little trouble following you. I thought things were going a little too fast for me somehow. My brain wasn't catching up.
Yeah, and that's okay too. Like I said, the first time it's like a little bit more of a shock to the system, right? And you're like, whoa, right? And it happened before with another pose. I think it was the lunge. Like lunge is coming along now, right? But the first time, it's like, whoa. And I think it's the same way for me when I learned some things with some of my teachers. The first time you're like, what? Like I'm being, this is me, right? I'm not saying this is you, but like my brain feels like it's going like, danger, danger, there's too much stuff, right? And then I realize now, like it was a great case in point, Amy's with Tiffany, right? Sometimes it's just a lot of new information. She's doing a pretty good job of going slow, but my brain needs it to be slower. So that's when the recordings are helpful and just practice it. Because some things I learned at the beginning, now it's like no big deal, just from practice.
Mm.
All right, so we're going to circle back today to tortoise pose. So that means that we're going to need the folds, right? So we take the flats and we're going to fold them in half and make a seated stack, right? This is the seated stack, typically the fold of the seated stack pose, because as you found out a couple weeks ago, Amy, it can feel very teeter-tottery, right? If we're on the Zens. So with Kurmasana, also known as tortoise pose, it is no more than 3. Probably all of us are on 3 is what I'm imagining. Even me, I've had a hard time really with this one. I don't tend to go down very much. Maybe a couple times I have in my life, but this particular angle has been a little more challenging to end up on, changing blankets support. So once you have 3, you're going to cross at the low part of your shin. All right, so remember, low part of the shin is not ankles. Ankles is going to be too wide. So if you are at your ankles, that's fine. Just bring your knees a little closer together and come up to the low part of the shin. And that creates that 45-degree angle. And so I'm going to keep my thigh at the same angle it's at, because it's set now for the 45. And then I'm just opening my foot up in front of it. And then I'll do the same thing. So I haven't moved my thigh angle, I just moved my lower legs out in front. All right, so, and this is very common. We can end up being so far back on the seat that it props the knees up. So there's a bend in the knee joint. If that's you, just move forward a little bit. Let your knees drop down. Okay, that you'll feel the difference, right? Now, this is where like a knee pad can come in handy sometimes, or a block. But if you can't get your hands flat without I don't know if you notice when I bring my hands down, my knees pop up because my body doesn't move in that way. This is spinal tension, tracking back. So when I go into a deeper angle, my knees come up, right? So I want my knees to be down, so I'm going to bring either a knee pad or a block under my hands. Some of you can go from, instead of hands, to fist. Palms facing each other, okay? I'm going to use a block today. I'm going to let my neck and head hang down. Timer going here. Lean into your arms and let your neck and head hang down all the way. So you just practice letting your neck and head hang down. Practice it again. So this is stage one. We're purposefully staying out of the deeper angle in the beginning because we're creating or we're working with the principle support creates release. So we have a little more support through the arms. This is the arms creating support to get release, just like we did it a moment ago. We just did it a little more actively the last pose. So stage two, we turn the palms over. I like to move the block out of the way a lot, but you know, turn the palms over, let the fingers be pointing towards the front. And let your torso now just tip over wherever it goes. So don't try to press into any deeper angle than your body is naturally going. And you may feel over time that the body lets go a little more, it just melts, or it might let go of something a little more obviously, you know, some of it's subtle, some of it's obvious. A couple more breaths here. Now keep your head down, but turn your palms over and use your arms. Here we are using arms again, right, as tools. Tip your torso back up. Press off the floor, press off your thighs until your neck and head come up. Okay, and then bring your feet together side by side and against your stack. The heels should be against your stack. I sit back a little bit more on this one. I want my buttocks, you know, my sit bones to kind of end up in the middle of my seat. All right, bring your feet. We're not crossing at the shins this time. We're bringing feet side by side next to each other and against the seat that we're sitting on. And then I'm going to let my knees go out to the side and the soles of my feet come together. So I'm going to check ankles here because this seat I'm on may not be the seat I need, and it's not for me. Okay, so I want my thigh bones to be parallel, right? We keep to the floor. We keep talking about this theme of the legs being, the thighs in particular being parallel to the floor, right? So my hips are lower than my knees. Some of you will have your hips higher than your knees will go down. So if your hips are lower, I need to put a blanket in underneath to raise my hips up where my knees are. If my knees are lower, I'm going to pull a blanket out and let my hips come down. Okay, so adjust your stack to meet your body where it's at. Or maybe, you know, you're on the right side stack right now. This is a pose where we can have a wedge, the rounded edge of a fold. Right, could come underneath the fleshy part of your buttocks. So we have this running theme once we've got our thigh bones parallel, we can feel the changes of that on the inside. Sometimes we don't feel it until we create that contrast. But once you're properly supported, it's undeniable that something gets to relax inside instead of hold. Okay, and then we start working with the other alignments of, so where's our head? Are we carrying it forward, or can we slide the sides of the neck back to get the ears over the shoulders, or as close as you can get to that? And the torso, so we have the head over the torso over the pelvic bowl. And this is a place to, I think it was you, Amy, for example, notice that you sometimes go into a slight sway back when you stand. You know, maybe you're doing that when you're sitting as well. And if that's the case, the belly, find the belly button or a little below the belly button and pull those muscles in, half strength. Yeah, good. Nice self-correction. Right? But if we don't ever correct it, like pay attention and correct it, we'll just keep doubling down on that pattern, right? So now the head weight gets carried through the structure of the bones of the torso and down through those sit bones into the seat. And can you soften your knees just a little more? And have your hands not on the knees, but in front of you, palms up, so there's not extra weight and pressure on the legs. Let them just essentially soften out on their own accord. They could potentially hold and grip a little without when you do that with the extra weight. Okay, and then if you'd like to try stage 2, you can bring both hands to the floor. If you're up on a tall stack, sometimes that's a really long way down to go. You could end up putting your hands on blocks even. Let your neck and head dip down all the way. So starting with your elbows straight. And your neck and head hanging down. And then inhale. On the exhale, you can bend your elbows and come down wherever it feels good for you. Be mindful that you're not tipping out of your seat. Your sit bones should still be connected. And so if your sit bones, we're adding on today, okay? If your sit bones are not connected to your seat, I'm going to have you tip up. You're going to bring your knees up, and you're going to take a layer or 2 off of your stack. Maybe even 3, who knows, okay? I know I need to typically take 2 to 3 blankets off, and then I come down with my hands again, and then bend my elbows and see if I can keep my sit bones in the seat. If your toes are not touching or some part of your feet, use your toe ball joint muscles to keep the bottoms of your feet touching. Everything except for potentially the arches will not be touching. And then tip your torso back up with your arms. Coming back to stage 1. Did anyone need to take some blankets out? No. Okay. Took 1 out. Okay. Okay, good. Good adjustment. Thank you for doing that. It's very easy to just want to, I'm already in the pose. I just want to stay here. But boy, it reaches in differently when you pull those blankets out and give yourself the lower level in stage 2. Okay, so use your hands to bring your knees up one at a time. And then come down on the floor for a lunge. So we'll get the blocks. Okay, once you're squared off on all fours, which means each leg has its own leg lane, right? We're not right up next to each other. There's a little space between your knees here, even with lunge. All right. Then shift your weight over to your left hand and bring your right foot forward and through. If you need to raise your left hand block to get a little space in to find your belly, you can do that now, or maybe you can reach in just fine. It's okay. You can do that without raising your block. So find your belly button, go down and to the right an inch. And you'll have this claw-like shape with your fingers. Now, if you're not solid on that left arm with for the support, this is going to feel quite a challenge to move. Okay, so get solid in that opposite side arm. Press your fingers through, and you know, we've done this quite a bit now. See if you can press through that belly tissue a little bit more than recently. Okay, take your time and reach for the back of your spine and pull your belly sideways on your thigh. Slide your hand up underneath your underneath your chest where the front low ribs are. You're going to press the palm in there and lift and lengthen toward the knee. Lower your hand, lower the block if you need to, so you have even blocks. Lower your head. Shift your hips forward. Bring your hands and blocks forward so you can get your wrists under your shoulders. And get your ankle under your knee. So your shin is perpendicular to the floor. And so are your arms. And your arms are parallel to each other. So even if you have to check on that visually, and then notice what it feels like on the inside, you should feel this leaning into your bones, not gripping to hold the pose. Your neck and head drape down. Bring your shoulder blades toward one another. Slide them down towards your waist. And then press into your hands and shift your hips back. And bring your knee back to the floor. And then we'll do the other side. So lean to the right hand, and that frees up some space, right, for your left foot to come forward and through. Raise the block up to the higher height if you need to get into your belly button. So find the belly button, go down into the left an inch. Be real solid in that right hand so that your torso is softer and you can press the fingers through that low left part of your belly. And press through the tissue towards your spine and pull it sideways onto your thigh. Then slide your hand underneath your chest until the palm rests on the front low ribs. You're going to press in, lift and lengthen toward your knee. Lower your hand down. Lower your block if you need to, and lower your head all the way. Now shift forward, and as you go forward, do not go so far forward that your belly and rib cage slide off your thigh. We already established your best angle, right? So go as far as that as your body will allow. And then bring your hands and blocks forward, get your wrists under your shoulders, and then scoot your foot to get your ankle under your knee. If your arms and shin are perpendicular to the floor, you'll simply be able to lean into your own body, which is a bone stimulating kind of a lean, right? It will help to strengthen your bones instead of leach calcium from your bones, which is what happens if we are chronically contracting our spinal muscles. Lean in and let the weight-bearing activity bring strength to your bones. Now bring your shoulder blades together, slide them down toward your waist. And if your arm needs to be helping your leg stay in alignment, it can. So the arm can help the knee stay above the ankle, in other words. Then press into your hands and shift your hips back. Okay. And so now we're going to take that back to the seated stack for seated side stretch. So you're probably on the same height of stack. But we'll just check, or maybe you have it memorized now, right? At this point, you probably know where you're going with quite a few of these poses, and it starts to become easy to remember, what stack height you're on. You can have a wedge ready for yourself as well, and bring a roll and your blocks with you. So every once in a while, your roll is going to get used, so it'll get kind of pancakey, right? Like a pancakey roll. So if you ever notice that, that's why I'm in here just kind of like tightening it up a little bit. So don't let your roll get too pancakey, and just if it does, just fix it up a little bit. And come sitting right in the center. Okay, have your wedge if you like under the fleshy part of your buttocks. And cross at the low part of your shin. This is the foundational position. Okay, in yoga we call this Sukhasana. Sukh, S-U-K-H, means easy. So this is easy pose. Okay, there's more to learn about this too, by the way. Just like standing, there's like layers of it. But just from a foundational perspective and a little history, all of this yoga ultimately is so that we can sit in ease. Sitting is supposed to be easy. And what do we find? It, for a lot of people, it ain't so easy, is it? We hear a lot of complaint, right? Because of sitting. And so it is a skill to learn. All right. And this is the foundational part. Are my thighs parallel? Right? We start there. Okay, so once you've got that, then we bring the right foot around to the side. My toes are pointing out, right? So I don't tuck my toes behind. I got my toes pointed out. From a bird's eye view, I'm looking from top down. I want to see that my knee isn't over my foot or behind my foot. I'm going to bring it up so it looks like if my knee came down to the floor, it would be flush. If you're on a shorter stack, of course, your knee might be down there already. All right, but if not, do not move this. This leg is set for this 45-degree angle. We just move the hip of the right leg, okay, until we have that kind of flush alignment. And then this is the other part, so double check yourselves here. Some of you may not need a roll. You might need, a fold. Okay, like Amy, I can't quite see where your feet are, but sometimes your knee's far enough down that if I put a roll under here, it would prop my knee up. So I want something a little less, right? So it could be a fold. Because I want to draw this piece out today. People will support their knee and they'll do it by like over propping it. They'll do it by propping down underneath the shin and not the knee. They will move their knee to get something underneath it, and now their knee is way back here instead of flush with their sole of their foot. So let's really draw this piece out today, okay? If you moved, and I'm going to be real picky today, okay? If you moved this other leg at all, I'm going to make you come back to cross chin because we want and need that 45-degree angle, okay? So if you end up doing stuff like this and we probably move this leg. So just reset it, cross at the low shin again, bring it around to the side, line up the knee flush with the sole of the foot, support just the knee in this angle where it needs to be supported, not over propping, okay, not moving it while you support it. We're always trying to find the way to meet your body where it's at, okay? And then if it's not quite supporting, then bring a block underneath it to wedge and lift it up, or a Z or two Zs, whatever you need. If you are on a needing two Zs, then you probably need more blankets, just FYI, because you're on a high stack, you only have 6 blankets. Some people need to sit on 6 blankets for this pose, which means you need more blankets for your knees, okay? So if that's you on a recording, talk to me and we'll get you some more blankets because you just have a starter set right now, okay? All right, so my hand is coming to the block on the right side. Is that all clear, Amy? Okay. All right. I can't read it from here. Can you come on and tell me?
Yes. Sorry. This one is like the most awkward, uncomfortable one I dislike the most. So it's probably the one that I need the most. So I'm floundering like a fish out of water with this. So I'm going to do my best and then we can do it one-on-one.
Love it. Let's do it. We'll get a fine-tooth comb and we'll pour through it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No worries. And you're right. Like, as long as you're not stepping over the line to contraindication, like some part of your body is absolutely screaming, like, no, no. And then maybe we can still work through it and find it, but you're finding the parts that are stuck right now. And those are the parts that need it. So, yeah. All right. So we'll do the best we can. Go ahead, Noria.
Yeah, are both knees supposed to be at the same level?
In the middle?
Yeah, well, now when I have these, the knee down, the right knee down, so I was noticing it looks like yours are both at the same level, and mine, the right one is a little lower than the left knee.
One that's
Is
in
that
the
okay?
front. So for me, I'm mirroring you, right? So for you, this is your left knee. This is your
Right.
right. Okay. So I'm just going to say the one that's been bent around, right? The bent around leg, that knee needs actually to be lower than the set. I'm going to call it the setting knee. So we
Oh,
set.
good.
Yeah, it has to be. Okay. And I don't usually say that. I'm looking for that. Okay. It could potentially be very close, but it needs to be, when we bend it around, it needs to be at least a little bit lower than the other one, the setting knee.
Great.
Yeah. So you're good then.
Mhm.
Thanks for asking.
Sure.
So remember, we had a final litmus test with this one. We have to get in pretty far until we do the last test to make sure we're okay. And I'm wondering if you're on the right stack, Amy. How many blankets are you sitting on? 3? 3? Not, okay. If you're in a lot of pain, you need, regardless, I would say, you probably need some more blankets under your buttocks. I'm not saying you're not going to find your tight spots in this position, but if it's already like, oh my gosh, if you just put a blanket or two more, even if your thigh bones are parallel, right? You put more blankets under your buttocks, probably going to work. So I bet 4. Okay, so from this place, let's test this, Amy, before, like, well, let's do one more thing. Come sit like this again. Shift your, yep, there you go. Good girl. Yay. You set the angle, right? So now once you get in there, don't wiggle. Did you see how you wiggled with your buttocks? That's because your body wants to get you out of that tight spot. Okay, which means you probably lost your set angle because your body was like, I'm gonna scoot around over here a little bit and try to avoid that. So and when you do that, then just make sure you set the angle again, 45 degree. Don't move this leg, don't wiggle in the seat, right? And a block is not good here because it's too hard. This is where we can use rolls and pillows and things like that. But let's test, before you get too far down the road, Amy, let's test something. Just put the blanket down for a second. Shift your weight over to the right side. Yeah, you don't want to, it doesn't want to go. I can see it. Yeah, that's your clue. Do not pass go. Get that, we just verified. Get another blanket under your buttocks. So if you have 4, go to 5. Is your sit bone, when you come over, Noria, is the sit bone going down? You shift to the right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're good then.
Yes.
Perfect. So watch how this starts to change things. Starting with the low part of the shin crossed and bringing your foot around to the side. Oh, yeah. Oh, were you saying wait a minute, or that's good? That's a thumbs up. Yay! Woo woo! Right? We work with the body. What does it need? And every once in a while it goes, do not pass go. This is not the pose for you. But usually we take the blankets, we fold them, we get more support somehow, and then we're in business. Okay. So if you came up higher on your seat, you probably need more under your knee. So there's a block under there. You might need to put some pillows under there because I know you're working with 6. Oh, wait, you have 7 blankets, don't you? You got an extra bonus. Oh, I thought you said you got 6 or 7 one day. Okay. I was like, they accidentally sent you one extra. All right. So bring your hand over onto the block on your right side. And look, it's the same principle. It doesn't have to be this low one. It doesn't even need to be this medium height. It could be up on this high height. Only because I got you these blocks. I got you the best blocks. Okay? Because this is super firm. If this was a foam block, it on the floor, it could get wobbly, and we wouldn't use that, by the way, because what's going to happen when things are wobbly? Your system's going to stabilize you, which means we're using the spine and we're not going to get it to open. All right, so bring your hand to the block on the right side. Bring your arm out to the side from your shoulder. We're going to rotate the palm forward and then the palm up towards the ceiling. Bring your arm up towards your head. Inhale, exhale, and lengthen through your fingertips. Then mound your lower shoulder up and let your head rest onto it. Inhale again. On the exhale, bend your lower elbow. So the upper arm is straight. So in other words, there's no bendy elbows. We're not doing ballerina stuff here, right? Use your back arm muscles to straighten through your arms. Keep breathing. Couple more breaths here. And then rotate your arm up and out. Press through your lower hand. Come up. Cross at the low part of the shin. Notice the difference between the sides here. Or whatever just is present for you. And then bring your left foot around to the side. Toes poked out to the side. Let's test from here. Shift your weight over to the left side of your body. It's not a tilting over like, bent or arcing over. It's literally bringing the weight over and seeing if the sit bones go down. And if we're a go, then we're on the right size stack. You may need less or more on any particular side. Pay attention, okay? We can solve for that, right? We just did it. All right, so make sure your knee is in that flush position with the sole of your foot. Give your knee what it needs to be supported, not over supported, lots of blocks and blankets. We're going to leave it in this angle and bring a rounded side of a roll underneath. And if that's not enough, we start putting things underneath it. Like I just find it easier to do a block than a Z, but some of you might need a Z or two. Okay, and then bring the block over to the left side with your hand on top of it. So it's always best to bring your stuff over before you start setting angles, because maybe you missed that 45-degree access point. Okay. All right. So bring your hand to the block on the floor. Let your arm come out from the side from your shoulder. Rotate your palm forward and then rotate it up towards the ceiling. You're going to bring your arm up towards your head. Inhale, exhale, lengthen through your fingertips. Mound your lower shoulder up. Let your head rest onto it. Inhale again. On the exhale, bend your lower elbow. And if you notice, it's called seated side stretch. So it's not collapsing forward and rounding forward, right? I've tried my best to go over to the side. I've brought my arm up so it still stays near my side. Whether it's in this angle or this angle, wherever your shoulder will allow for you. You don't have to look like me inside a pose. I've been doing these poses for a long time, right? So we may look different, but the principles still apply. Couple more breaths here. Make sure you're not letting your upper arm get soft and bent. It's staying straight and lengthening the whole time. And then you can let your upper arm come up and out. Press up from your lower hand. Bring your foot forward. We're coming back to easy pose again. Cross to the low part of the shin. And you can notice any continuing effects for a couple of moments. Do you ladies notice continuing effects, by the way? Yeah, yeah. This is not it's not Newtonian in that way, like in it, feeling it, out of it, not, right? This is a living, breathing, very dynamic piece of equipment you've been given with this body, so it'll keep going. I can't tell you how many times someone's gotten a car. Like when I did more live stuff, people would get in a car and go home after a private session, and I'd be getting the text later, like, oh my gosh, in the car, or later on that night, they were noticing all these things that would still be going for them. So, all right, let's come back to cat cow. And to wrap up today, and compare this marker pose now that we have released the entire spine. So one of the things I was saying that you can really be looking for is, are the tight spots of your spine moving, right? And in this case, we probably would notice that more through the rib cage, like what's going to be articulating for you now. Get your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, so your knees are not right next to each other. Yeah, you can use a knee pads. Yeah, if you're on a hard surface. For lunge or this one, you please avail yourself of a knee pad if you need it. Okay, so your box is like, you're like two sides of a door jamb, right? So your arms to your legs, and then your arms to your arms, and your legs to your legs in that sense. So you should feel this boxy shape. Bend your toes and tuck them under. We're going to use the arms the whole time, so the arms should not have bent elbows throughout the process. All right, so we're going to start with cat. So let your neck and head hang down. Oh yeah, that's right. You're not using the knee pad for the knees. You're using it for the wrists. I almost forgot. You can use the knee pad for wrists if your wrists are getting super tight, okay? But you can also use them for your knees if you're on a hard surface. All right, so start, your head's hanging down. Start to round your back toward the ceiling, pulling your navel in at half strength. And the back of your hips will round down, so the tailbone's lengthening toward the floor, your head's drop toward the floor. In fact, you can tuck your chin in toward your chest. You're pressing through your toes, knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly, keeping your elbows straight. And now in this position, exhale and pull your navel in half strength to help the back of your waist round up toward the ceiling a little more. Inhale into, I'm gonna mute you there, Noria. Inhale into your back ribs, lifting them toward the ceiling like hot air balloons. Exhaling, pulling the navel in half strength again. You can do 2 or 3 rounds of this, exhaling into the back of your ribs. Excuse me, inhaling into the back of your ribs, exhaling, pulling your navel in, rounding out a little bit more. Like how much can you round right now than you were before? Okay. And then we're going to move into cow. So tip your tailbone out behind you, parallel to the floor. And then tipping the tailbone toward the ceiling. Your hips will tilt the other way, so the sit bones are moving up toward the ceiling. You're getting a slow, deep arc that climbs your spine from your low back through your waist, along your spine, through your ribs, behind your heart, between your shoulder blades, and into the base of your neck. And then your head, your arc climbs through your neck as your head. You start to bring it back, so your ears are coming back towards your shoulders. Your head comes up. You're looking out, not at the floor, but out in front, as long as your neck will allow you to do that. Continue pressing into the floor evenly through your toes, knees, and hands, keeping your elbows straight. Let your belly soften and sag toward the floor like a cow. Your belly and chest open toward the floor. As you inhale into the breath, into the belly and chest now. And you exhale, let the spine soften and sag like an old cow. You can repeat that a couple times, breathing into your belly and chest. And then exhaling and letting the spine soften and sag like an old cow belly. And then we're going to end in cat. So leave your head where it is. We're just going to tilt the pelvis down. So your tailbone's going to start coming down. And that starts to tip your pelvis up. And then your low back starts to arc up. And then it starts to climb to the upper part of your waist and the low part of your ribs and behind your heart. And up through your shoulder blades and into your neck, and your neck and head start to come down. There's a undulation coming up your spine, right? As you press into your toes, knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly, keeping your elbows straight. Exhale and pull your navel in at half strength. And breathe into the back of your back. And then exhaling and pulling your navel in at half strength. Use your abs to create the change, your abs, arms, and legs to create the changes. And then one more time, breathing out, arc, using that to arc your upper spine a little more, breathing into the back of your lungs. And then you can bring your knees together and sit back on your heels. Stack your fist and rest in child. Notice any continuing effects for yourself. Those effects could be not just physical, they could literally be about the state of your mind, your energetic qualities. And then come up, use your hands to tilt up. And Amy, if you would go first, because I know you need to walk the dog, could you share before you go what you noticed? And let's keep it specifically about the marker pose the first time and the second time.
Yes. I think it was easier since I had something under my wrists, and I just feel more flexible now, like I was so stiff. So everything has opened me up. In fact, I don't ache like I did from the flu right now. After doing all of this, I like my nose stopped running as much. I stopped coughing as much. So, when you said it does help with that stuff, you're right, because I really just wanted to go to bed and sleep.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did not.
Yeah, it's hard for people to trust me with that, so thank you for trusting me. When
Yeah.
sacrum opens, it opens the bones of your head. So if you're already, the passageways are so clogged up with things, right? And then you
Yeah.
open, it creates more space for everything. Maybe your body still needs to process, right? To expunge all the mucus and things eventually, right? That you're moving through. But it's gonna create the open for the detox process more because
Yes.
it's pressure.
And I'm going to do that pose probably every day. I just see that's like one I think that really benefits me.
What, the cat cow?
Yes.
I forgot something. Oh gosh, I just forgot. Okay, because it's a spinal tightener, this is our one and only pose that we're doing in this program that is a possible spinal tightener. And we did talk about that recently as
Yeah.
well. So could you do a quick alt leg before you go, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because if you did tighten, like we're learning, how do I use my arms to push up? How do I use my toes, right? We were talking about that with you, Nuria. And how do I find, could either of you find that finding access to all of this information you needed to send to your extremities and your abs, did any of that flow better for you the second time?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I'll do that. I have to go though. I have three dogs.
Yeah,
So
go do the dogs, but come back and do the alt leg.
I'm going to do it right now real quick.
Oh, do the alt leg. Okay, great.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Nuria. Nuria. Thank you.
So go ahead, your turn, Nuria.
Uh, well, I'm just puzzled on of how disoriented I felt about the cat-cow thing. I mean, I've done cat-cow for up to the kazoo, of course, not with all these, detail. But I just didn't know what I was in cat, what I was in cow, and you keep saying, breathe and let the belly hang.
Yeah.
Just to me, it was like a big labyrinth somehow. Like, anyway, I was doing whatever I could, but I can understand how these can tighten up uh, the spine, actually. Because I noticed like a tendency of wanting to really, do the cat thing or the cow thing. So perhaps there's a little bit of effort in it that shouldn't be there.
Yes. Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect realization. Yeah. And when the spine is tight, it just, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think it gloms on, it fires all the cylinders, right? It's like use all the muscles all at once, right? Instead of spine soft. Oh, here's my arms. Oh, here's my abs. This is something that you're going to start sensing more and more the more you do this, especially membership wise, when we start focusing on abs and we use abs as marker pose and use, that's when you really see how definitively we use abs and spine all at the same time. We release the spine, so now the information, body's open, information flows, so we can isolate muscles better. And you're like, there's my abs. You know, I'll never forget. It took me years, to be honest, maybe like 4 years, but I'll never forget the first time I was aware Doesn't mean it wasn't happening, but what do I say? Sometimes we need to let our awareness catch up to what's happening, right? And so for me, with abs in particular, it took about 4 years. I remember exactly where I was. I had just gotten to my studio and I tend to bound upstairs, but I was in stairs that were switchbacking. So I got into the stairwell and I hit like I was start it had I had to turn to get into it and I felt my abs go whoop. I was like, oh, because what we'll say is they will kick in automatically for you. When the spine isn't trying to glom on, the abs will go, I got you. Go ahead, girl. It's like it was so cool. It was the first time that I really, really noticed it because I just did this shwoom to go up the stairs and it was boom. And I'm like, but not, it wasn't like, it was, oh, I got you. We're good. Keep going.
Mm.
It was really, really cool.
Mm.
So, so I feel like you do trust the process and give yourself some grace. That's a
Yeah,
lot to ask a new person, all that stuff. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, I was wondering about my hamstrings because when we had our legs all straight out like that at one point, that was before the cat-cow thing. Remember that time when you told us to?
yeah,
So I was afraid, and then going down over, right? I was afraid that because for so many times, in dance and all that, like don't release your knees, don't let your legs be totally straight, don't straighten up your legs. So I was afraid because of that all cautionary sort of thing. But and because one of my thigh bone, I mean, one of my hamstrings it feels a little funky. So anyway, I don't know. I just
funky.
thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, funky in what way?
Well, it sort of bothers me a little bit. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but I feel it. I think that it's just not as strong as the other one, and I feel I have a physical sensation about it, and I sort of think, it's not pain, but it could evolve into pain. It seems like it could evolve into pain.
What if it was
Uh,
just letting go and it's
yeah, well,
just,
I had that before even I started, anything with you. So it's an old thing.
well, do you
Yeah.
remember, I think it was Amy, um, or maybe, yeah, no, I don't do tortoise in the spinal freedom stuff because we need blankets for that. Okay. So it wasn't one of those. I think it was Amy or Honey. Probably Amy because Honey, I don't know if Honey made it until we started Kurmasana. So, but you can put a roll. You can take I mean, was it you? Okay. I take a long roll and I put it behind my hamstrings in that pose when I feel like my hamstrings are really tight, or just one of the hamstrings is really tight, because just this tiny, now I don't remember what I've been saying with the knees and seated side stretch. I don't over prop. If my leg is here, I don't put the support to go up. I go just to meet myself.
Right.
So only make a roll as tight as, as high up. Like maybe this is too high. Maybe
Right.
I just need a little bit of this roll to meet behind my hamstring, and I pull it underneath all the way across. I think with what you're, some of this is the old training, right? Of,
Right.
that topic is in your head, like, and look, a lot of people will talk about this too especially when I work with PT. Sometimes they'll be like, don't lock your knees. There's times when we can lock the knees. If I'm just letting my legs fall down with gravity, I'm not putting pressure on them, right? I'm just letting things fall where they fall, and that's okay.
And actually, that felt fine. I mean, it felt fine. I didn't feel like I was straining or anything. And actually, I could go down pretty easily.
Well, but some part of you's protecting inside of it.
Right. Yeah.
So this roll comes underneath to soothe the mind. It's more about the mind. That particular adjustment, like that's something also that we could fine tooth comb bit, and you can either practice it now between now and next week and let me know, or I mean, when you see me looking down, it's because I'm starting to write notes about things, right?
Sure.
So this is something that we could do in a private, right?
Right. Yeah.
So try it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I was softening into it, I was, my sort of panicky, don't lock your knees kind of thing was also kind of letting
Okay.
it out, letting go.
I have
So
a 4 o'clock, so I'm gonna need to go, but I'm glad you were able to to notice it, then to talk yourself through it. And then if I'm giving you an adjustment, it's for you. I'm not going to tell everyone to put that role. If you say, hey, what was that support? I don't remember. Then I'll talk you through it a little, right? Right then and there. But it's not an adjustment is not always something that everyone needs. So it's now a gift to you to support yourself more fully. Okay? Because not everyone needs it.
all
But you
right.
do. I would say you do, and I would use it until I felt comfortable with my mind inside the pose. And you might get more release, and and it'll even up. Okay? That one tighter side from the more open side. All right, darling. I'll see you. Are you coming?